Welcome to the Authentic Change Podcast. I'm Mike Horne, your host, and this podcast is for leaders and coaches who need and want fresh perspectives on what it means to live and to lead authentically. You're a leader who wants to make a difference, but sometimes you feel stuck. You know there's more to life and to leadership than what you're currently experiencing. It can be tough to figure out how to grow as a leader. You might be reading all the blogs and books, but it still feels like you're not making progress. You might even be feeling like you're doing everything wrong. On Authentic Change with Mike Horne, we interview experts who share their insights on how to live and lead authentically. Our guests are trendsetters in building great leaders, teams, and organizations. We provide fresh perspectives on what it means to live with purpose and authenticity. Welcome to this episode of the Authentic Change Podcast.
Welcome to this episode of Authentic Change with Mike Horne. I am absolutely delighted to have in our virtual studio today, Nico Lagan. And you're going to find out a lot more about Nico Lagan in our dialogue today on authenticity and integrity and change and what it means to create a people dividend in organizations and teams. You're going to find out a lot more about Nico Lagan, which you can reach him at the same URL, NicoLagan.com. You'll find it in the show notes. But aside from all that, let's get to interviewing Nico Lagan, who is an influential entrepreneur, men's coach, and host of the thought-provoking podcast, The Nico Lagan Show. Nico's journey to success has been anything but ordinary. Growing up without a strong male figure in his life, he found himself idealizing the wrong role models and fell into a life of addiction and drug dealing. However, he eventually realized the need for a positive change in his life and decided to take the path of redemption. After spending over a decade on a destructive path and working a job he did not love, he had an epiphany. He recognized that many others faced similar challenges and lacked guidance, leading him to this mission, which is to become a voice for men and empower them to reclaim their masculinity and purpose. I'm going to let Nico Lagan talk about that and reclaiming masculinity and reclaiming purpose. But his approach to empowering men is in his 5 virtues of a good man, which we'll talk about today. The importance of being a protector, a provider, courageous, temperate, and having faith as a way of cultivating manliness. And, for those seeking inspiration and looking to champion masculinity, Nico Lagan is undoubtedly a leader worth following. So I'm so delighted to have you here today, Nico, to talk about all of these issues in terms of leadership, in terms of authenticity and congruency. So welcome, Nico. Do you want to say a few words about yourself?
You did a good job. I don't know that I want to add anything to what you said. I tend to talk a lot, so no worries. I'll definitely add some stuff as we're speaking, but no, you did a good job. It's always humbling to listen to what we've done up to now. It often sounds surreal, but yeah, you described me very well. Thank you.
What is a man's purpose coach? I mean, let's break that all down. I mean, all 3 words, man, purpose, and coach, because all of those can be in some question for some people. I don't know about that. Let's just break that down. What does that mean, Nico? Men's purpose coach.
Without purpose, a man's life is meaningless. If you look at today's society, we seem to have an increase in people that are depressed, and depression as a whole, both male and female, but I'll attack the male part. And one of the things that I know for a fact to be true is there's no such thing as men being depressed. Men feel the way they do because they have no purpose. They lack purpose. And when you break it down, it makes sense. Why would you be happy to live if you don't know why you're here in the first place? I've never, over the past 20 years, I haven't met one single person that had purpose that was depressed. Not one. And I've known people, from people that would wash floors to people making millions of dollars today. My mentor is an extremely accomplished individual. And you look at, I've met, through my last job as a sales engineer, through my career, I've met some of the most powerful people in Canada and North America. And you know what? I've never seen somebody depressed that had purpose. Never. And this is what a purpose coach is. The whole point, if I'm going to take on somebody, a man, to work with, I'm not easy to deal with. I'm the type of person that I'm going to watch what I say, but I'm the type of friend that you need in your life. I'm the guy that will call what needs to be said when it needs to be said. I'm not worried to hurt your feelings. But if you're ready to take accountability, if you're ready to start from the beginning, to say that you are the problem, whatever's going on in your life, you're always the issue. That being said, once you accept that, you can change it. And this is what I do through purpose coaching, is really a bit destroy the victim mentality that we've built over the years, and finding reasons for our lack of success and simply putting it back on the individual. Like any addiction, look at any addiction. I don't want to say problem. What I'm like, look at the NAs, look at AA, look at NA, which are programs that help addiction. The first step is always the same: admit that there's a problem, and the problem is you. And this is what I do. We will deconstruct everything that you've built to make excuses. Once you accept the fact that your life is in the situation that it is in because of you, you can reclaim that power and say, with that in mind, what do I control?
It's the same in Gestalt psychology applied to organizations. The first step is awareness. It's self-awareness and leadership, personal development, organization development. There's got to be some awareness, and then you have to decide: can I put my energy? Do I have enough energy to put into that? Do I want to invest my energy in that? Which leads me, I mean, you've covered the topic of purpose very well. What I've heard you say, Nico, is that without purpose, we fail in so many ways, or we're not vital, or we don't thrive.
No.
Well, and I think I heard you say that that's, true for both men and women.
Of course.
So that comes back to this. So why the focus on, if we're exploring men's purpose coach, why the focus on men?
Just before I answer that question, the same is true with any organization. It doesn't matter that you're in business. If you have a business and it has no purpose, it will never do well. You always, whatever you do in life needs to have purpose, or else the energy will never be backed. You'll never feel, and I'm air quoting here, you'll never feel like putting the time in, because there's no purpose. So it doesn't matter that you're a man, that you're a woman, you're an organization. It does not matter. We all need purpose in order to push through those days that we don't feel like it. We depend on, too many times we depend on being motivated, but motivated is attached to emotions. And the days that you're not feeling great, guess what? Your emotions out the window. This is why with purpose, you develop discipline. And
Purpose
when you have
purpose, mastery are essential in
100%.
leadership. Yeah, and purpose is important in organizational and team life.
100%. And as you said, self-awareness is the key. Accountability is the key. And having purpose is the key. With those three things, you can pretty much accomplish whatever you put your mind to. Why men? Because I lacked a father figure.
Right.
My dad was not present when I was younger. And when my parents got divorced at the age of 14, he left. He died, I was 29. And I think the last time I saw him, I was 19. So it had been about 10 years since I've had face-to-face contact with my father, and we didn't speak either. So I think the last time I spoke, I was 21. So by the time he died, it had been about 8 years since I've had contact with him. And Steve Harvey, I'm going to bastardize this quote because that's what I tend to do, but Steve Harvey explains it in a way where a father living will leave a hole in the shape of himself in the soul of his son.
Hmm.
And we always look to fill that hole with something. And this is what I did when I was 14. I didn't have a father figure there. And I don't care the age that you are. As a man, you could be a boy, you could be a teenager, you could be a man. You're always going to look up to people that can make you better. You unconsciously, you're always going to be looking for people to mold yourself after. And 100 years ago, 200 years ago, we had rites of passages. We had men taking care of other men saying, listen, this is what you need to become a man, because a man is not born, he is made. And the only way that men are made is by being around other men that are successful. Whatever success means to your path, to what you're trying to accomplish, you want to have men that will teach you the responsibilities of becoming a man, because you're not born a man. You become a man through trials and tribulations. It is not easy to be a man. We have a lot of responsibility that falls on our shoulders, which is a great thing, because through responsibility, you find purpose.
Do you think there aren't enough social activities then for boys? I mean,
100%.
in which they develop
100%. Activities that are dedicated to boys. That there's no women, there's no feminine energy. There's no feminine energy, because a lot of the things that I talk about, I say men and women, but it duplicates with the energy. Like
right.
If you look at any statistic out there, they will show you that a child that is born in a family that is a nucleus family where both father and mother are present and are taking care of the child will always do better. And then any family where there's only one parent. And it's pretty easy, because fathers teach something that mothers don't, and mothers teach something else that fathers don't. And there are gender roles. As much as people don't like to hear those words, there are things that as a man, I'm better to do. But there are things as a woman that my mother, my girlfriend, any feminine women are better at doing. Emotional intelligence does not come from the father. It comes from the mother. And this is something, unfortunately, if you look at my mother, that had to play both roles. She tried to be masculine and tried to be feminine. What happens when you're trying to split your energy between two things? You don't do either properly. This is why I do what I do, because we're looking at statistics now, between 33 to 40% of young boys are being raised without the biological father in the house. And in 90% of the cases, the son is with their mother. And a mother cannot teach a boy how to become a man, nor can a father teach a girl how to become a woman. You need to find those masculine men and those feminine women to teach your kids. And this is why I speak about what I speak. This is why I'm writing my second book right now on the 5 virtues of a good man, so that I can give somewhat of a blueprint. This is the idea, to make it so simple based on my life, where I can explain to you the situations that I went through over the past 26 years that has taught me what I know, because it wasn't because I had strong men around me. Unfortunately, I was put in a situation where I had to find it for myself. But at the same time, it's a great thing if you go through it. You learn a lot when you're always looking for answers. If there's not somebody there to teach you all the time, and you have a critical mind, you're always looking for answers, it's a great place to be. It's not easy, but it's a great place to be. And this is the point. It's really just, to answer your question, is really just that I want to give a blueprint to fatherless men and to single mother that they can follow in order to provide their sons with the 5 virtues of a good man.
Well, that's great. I mean, that's a very noble cause. And I do want to explore the 5 virtues with you as we move forward. And I also have been thinking about, in certain areas of psychology, in certain fields of psychology, in certain topical interest areas in psychology, people talk about or describe archetypes. Idealized versions of,
look at the hero for a man.
However you want to think about these archetypes. And so, do you work with an idealized masculine archetype in order to create this purpose and meaning for men?
It's not an archetype per se, but I'm a big fan of Carl Jung. I'm a big fan of Carl Jung. I'm a big fan of psychology. I would say that over the past 8 years, I'd say 7 years, I've probably ran through 300 books, and half of them are based on psychology. To me, psychology explains everything. But Carl Jung was a brilliant man. When it comes to the archetype work and to the work that he's done, analyzing dreams and relating them to real life, he was a brilliant, absolutely brilliant man. But there are truth to men we call them gender roles, and I don't like to use those terms because it tends to irritate people, and that term irritates me, but everybody knows what I'm talking about if I use those terms. And there are things, if you look at engineering, for example, you compare engineering to the medical field, 86% of nurses are women, and the absolute same thing for engineering. 86 to 80 to 90% of engineering are done by men. And as an SC, as a sales engineer, I can attest to that. There was one woman in some of the teams that I've been. Most of the time, there was no women at all in my field. And it's nothing sexist in a way that it's not done on purpose. But if you look at the way we are, men are extremely logical. Just look at the way we argue. If you're a man and a women want to speak about their problem in order to vent. Men want to fix the problem. Okay, this is the problem. Let me fix it for you. But that's not what she wants. This is the way we are. Men love things. Women love people. So guys, we look at our life very logically and say, hey, how does that work? How can I deconstruct that? How can I fix this? That's why men are in engineering. But at the same time, you look right now, it's nurses, because for a long time, women did not necessarily go for doctor's position, but they're starting to see a switch where this is becoming reality in all medical field. If you look at University of Ottawa in Canada, I think it's 70% right now of students in medicine, all type of medicine, from doctor to being a nurse, doesn't matter, are women. And I guarantee you that over the next 10, 20 years, it's going to become exactly what we see in engineering. It's going to become somewhere between 85 to 90%. And you look at police officers, it's about 95% are men. If you look at firefighters, it's the same thing. Men are logical, but they're also very physical. So we go for fields where we can protect. Instinctively, we are, I don't know how to call it. I haven't found a proper term in psychology to describe it, but we have an instinctual, there's something instinctual in us that wants to protect. We see something that is wrong, we want to do something about it. And this is instinctual. This is just the way that we are. And this is why I find it absolutely fascinating. So unfortunately, yes, there are gender roles, there's archetypes, if you will. And this is why the 5 virtues of a good man, I'll be 100% transparent here. I did not invent the principles that are attached to the 5 virtues of a good man. Those are Stoic principles that have existed for thousands of years. And if you go back through literature, you can easily find the same concept that I talk about. All I did is readapt it to a world that is not the same world of 2,000 years ago. I explain it in a way that that attracts the attention of people today, that makes sense to people of today. But the message has not changed. There are still virtues that men need to possess in order to become leaders, in order to serve, in order to have purpose in their lives.
And in your book, Purpose, how following your personal legend is the answer to your midlife crisis. Can you give some more meaning and content to that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's, the idea was based off of a book that I read years ago. I read it about once a year. It's called The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. Super easy, great book. I just finished reading it again this weekend. And they talk about personal legend, as in you were meant to accomplish something. Unfortunately, for most men, they hit 35 to 45 years of age. They've done what they were supposed to do. They have a career, they have a family. They did the best they could to take care of the family. A lot of men work jobs they don't like just so that they can provide, just so that they can be responsible for being there for their family. They will suck it up, as we say, on the professional side, just so that they can provide. But when they hit, to this day, we're making fun of men that are around the 48, like the 40 age range. We make fun of them because, they want a sports car. They're trying to date younger women. But psychologically speaking, what's going on is they're facing mortality. As bad as this sounds, they are looking at their life and they're like, okay, this is what I've accomplished up to now. I've done things that I'm not necessarily not proud of, but not that this is what I wanted to do. I would have loved to do something else. And now I'm at a stage in my life where I feel that I am a good person. Like, I did what I was supposed to do. Now, what do I really want to do? And this is a great place to be. I was there a few years ago. This is what inspired that book. But what is great about this is if you're accountable, you can look at yourself for what you are and look at, instead of basing your next step on what you've accomplished up to now, you can look at your natural skills. Because this is one thing we're not taught. I have natural skills. There's a reason why I ended up as a sales engineer. I used to be a nerd fixing computers. This is what I studied in. But one of my old bosses saw something in me. He's like, hey, you have some skills that you should probably be in front of customers. So instead of configuring and supporting equipment in networking, he's like, we're going to put a suit on you and we're going to put you in front of customers. You're going to explain extremely complicated concepts to customers. You're going to put it in layman's terms so that customers understand. Those are natural skills. There's a reason why today I'm in front of a camera every day and I record content. I record podcasts. I probably recorded more than 300 in the past 3 years. And those are because I have natural skills when it comes to speaking in front of people. It did not happen by accident that I went in sales. I don't believe in coincidences. Somebody saw something that I did not know was there and decided to give me a chance. A few years ago, during COVID, when everything was in Canada, there was restrictions everywhere. We couldn't do what we were used to do. I couldn't go to the gym. I couldn't teach martial art anymore. So all my hobbies were gone. And I was in a situation where I had to reflect on what my next step was. And I looked at my transferable skills that I had acquired over 20 years. And I'm like, what can I do with this? And this is how I ended up starting a podcast, eventually running to content creation. And now I help people put better content out there and have an impact in their market. But if you look at everything that has happened, it's not coincidence. I've had skills that now I'm fully aware of because, again, as we said earlier, I'm very aware of the type of who I am. And this is key. And this is what happens when men are around 40. When you've been grinding, how many times do you hear this expression? I'm just living the grind. I'm just grinding. I'm grinding. I'm grinding. I'm grinding. You have a goal in mind, but we forget that there's a person behind that grind. We forget ourselves completely. And then we wonder why spiritually we don't feel good anymore. We're just dissatisfied with our life, but we're so disciplined that we'll continue doing it because that is what we do. But we're not happy. And there's something that you can do about it, but it always stems back from what we were saying at the beginning. It comes back to being aware. It comes back to being accountable. And, I'll ask you the question, when's the last time you took 2 weeks off by yourself? You rented a cabin in the middle of nowhere. You left your phone behind, no television. You brought a few books that you've been wanting to read for X number of time, but you're always making it. We all have those books, right? Oh, I'll read it, but we never end up reading them. But when's the last time you actually went by yourself with nobody else in the middle of the woods and spent time by yourself, be bored, just be with yourself for 2 weeks, a month, however long? When's the last time you've done that?
I've done it a few times. The last time, I also think about that in terms of business travel too. Mm-hmm. And visiting clients, and often it's an experience that happens in isolation.
Yeah.
So yes.
So how revealing is isolation?
Well, I think all behavior, I'm a Lewinian. I think all behavior is a function of person plus environment. So environment has a big influence on what you do and how you behave. And so isolation, I think it's more quality of the ability to sit with yourself, to be comfortable in your own skin as a way of claiming more of who you are. I mean, in a union context.
And how can you do this if you're always distracted?
Yes, agreed. And so many people are.
And it does not matter. It could be your phone, it could be your job, it could be your family, it could be life as a whole. But we don't consciously take time and isolate ourselves from distractions anymore. It never stops.
In some of the coaching work that I'm doing now, I'm following the work of Shirzad Chamine and positive intelligence and PQ coaching, which I'll be certified in very soon. There are ways that throughout the day you can rewire your neural pathways to stop and take a moment of reflection that will call your wiser sage to the forefront. Versus being, operationalized, rationalized, and acted by your saboteurs, your judges, your critics.
But this I agree with, but there's a certain need for exploration prior to that. There's
sure.
Like meditation to me, every time I go to the gym, before I get out of the gym, I will spend 5, 10, however long, I just go by the heart. But I will spend time meditating, refocusing myself on how I feel, and that just centering myself. And this can be exactly what you're talking about. And this is something I do multiple times a day. As soon as I
repeated it, yeah.
But I'm very self-aware. I can feel myself switch to a mode that I don't want to be in. And I'm like, okay, step back. Just, you know what? Whatever you're doing right now, just step back from it and try to understand what's going on.
So I'm assuming you feel some congruency now in your life, that your words and actions and even your thought patterns, your cognitions are in alignment. You feel some sense of flow, some sense of congruency.
Appreciation. I'm extremely, extremely grateful. I work outside all the time. Like I run my own business, so my employees, I work them remotely. But I have a little laptop that I always go sit outside when it's nice. Like this morning, I was outside on the laptop. I have a German Shepherd. She comes with me, and I'll just be sitting in the sun working on my laptop instead. I have 3 screens right now in front of me, and I will complicate everything by having just one screen, just so that I can sit outside. And no shoes on. I'm sitting in the grass. I have a little chair. My feet are in the grass, and I'm just working off my laptop there. And I am so grateful that I have built a life for myself where I'm capable of doing this whenever I want. If it's nice out, I'll go. Even if it's not nice, how many times have I been outside in the rain? I just have shelter. There's a roof above my head, and I just work from there, just because those are the little things that I can give myself anytime I want that completely changes the way I feel about what I'm doing. Any task can become okay. Not great, but at least okay. Just because you said it yourself, your environment. Just because I can change my environment to please my soul, if you will.
Yes. Getting sun on your body is a good thing.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much a daily, at least a 5-time a week hiker, and I hike where there are protected animals, and it's just great to be outside for at least an hour a day, at least.
I've been on the road right now for 13 months. My girlfriend and I have been traveling the US in an RV. We've been through 23 states, and I've built a studio in the back end of my RV so that I can do what I do every day. But prior to that, I spent 2.5 years in the woods. I have an investment house in Canada, log house, top of a mountain, middle of nowhere. And I spent 2.5 years there.
What
and
part
the
of
first
Canada?
Outside Montreal.
Beautiful
So
out
about
there. I love Northern Ontario.
Yeah, there we
Northern
go.
Ontario is just so gorgeous.
It's basically the same thing, except you're on the French portion of Canada. But
right.
It's extremely. I've lived in both, and it's the same. But
well, I think the Quebecois has a different influence, though.
I'm talking about the views. I'm not talking about the people. I'm just talking. If you're not seeing anybody, you could take a house in Northern Ontario.
Right. Probably you're right.
And it'll be the same. The people are not the same at all.
Right. No, not the same.
Very, very different. But the look of it is very similar.
Yeah.
And some of them, some of the best moment that I've ever experienced as an extrovert was to spend time by myself alone in the woods. And that was for almost a year and a half. That's what I did. And where the house is, you can walk. I could walk my dogs on the main road with no leash and not meet anybody. Like there's nobody out there. Like over there, people can still take their horses and go to the corner store, to the store that's the closest to us. But you're in the middle of nowhere. But just being in nature, how many times have I been sitting on my front deck? No noise, no nothing. Laptop on my lap, just working away. My dog is there. I have a few acres of land where they can just mess around. But the peace that it brings you, we're not supposed to be on concrete day in, day out. We are supposed to be in nature. So I understand why you hike. I totally understand why this is probably food for your soul right there. Just being in nature.
Yeah, I like seeing, what's going on. Today I saw a lot of bighorn sheet scat. And it's nice to know that, I'm sort of out there in that part of the world and have the privilege of watching these like gorgeous autumn sunrises right now in the West, in the Southern California desert. It's really quite beautiful at this point. So Nico, where do you want to take this in terms of, do you want to talk about your five virtues, or how do you want to do that? That might be a good way of, then we can start to wrap up.
Absolutely. So to me, there's 5 virtues a man must possess. There's a lot more than that, but the foundation are courage. Courage is number 1. This is the foundation to everything. That's your cellar right there. You need to have the balls to do what you're supposed to do when it needs to get done.
You need to be able to stand up to bullies.
To anybody.
You need to be a champion.
Oh, absolutely. You need to be ready to do what needs to get done. And this is the only way you can become dependable. If I cannot trust that you're courageous, I cannot trust you as an individual, because I never know who's going to show up depending on the situation in which we find ourselves in.
So you would say that too many men are wobbly now.
Or cowards. I'd push it even. You're a lot more polite than I am, but yes, I would say that I was a coward.
Cowardly.
I was bullied when I was in high school, and it's not until I went back to school that I discovered martial arts. And I went from being bullied, from being a coward, to fighting in a ring and becoming a North American amateur champion in Muay Thai. So being a coward is a choice. You choose to remain a coward. There are things that you can do in order to become courageous. And unlike people believe, courage is not a lack of fear. On the contrary, courage is having what it takes to do what needs to get done when you're scared. There's nothing courageous about doing something that doesn't scare you. But this is the first thing. This is the foundation. This, to me, every single man out there needs to be dependable. And in order to become dependable, you need to be courageous. Second is to become a protector. And protector is not only physical in a way where you're protecting your family, you're protecting your loved ones, you're protecting your community, but it is also in a way where, another word that I absolutely despise, but everybody understands, is a safe space. I don't believe in safe spaces outside of one in the house. There's one safe space that exists, and it's in the house. Behind closed doors, what your family lived through, what your wife lived through, this is a safe space. But as soon as you cross that door, there's no such thing as a safe space anymore. But it is your job as a man to protect that, to create that haven in which your children, your wife can live in a way that they are not surviving. You cannot, it is impossible for a human being to grow if they're surviving, because everything that matters when you're surviving is what's coming next. Where's my next meal? How I'm going to pay my bills. All your mind and energy are towards surviving. So a man needs to create that space where his children, his wife can grow as human beings. And they also, and you need to know how to fight. You need to take care of your body. The day I started hitting the gym is the day I started to understand my mind. You gain access to your mind through self-mastery of your body. If you look in the mirror, there's a reflection of you. It doesn't lie. What you see in the mirror is you. How you look physically, the state of shape in which you find yourself is 100% on you. 100% on you. And this is something that is extremely powerful because you have the power to change it. But if you look at the average American, we're talking 42% obesity. We're talking 30% overweight. That's 72% of people are not in acceptable shape. And I'm not talking like me as an athlete where you have a six-pack and you're working out like a madman every day. We're just talking about being in a healthy body. That's less than 28% of Americans right now. And how can you ever expect to feel good about yourself if you treat your body like a dumpster? People take better cares of their cars than they do their own body. And what's our body? Our body is a machine that supports our mind. How can we ever expect our mind to be able to work to the extent that it has the power to if we don't treat it with the respect that it deserves by feeding the body with nutrients that will enable us to function properly? And
Food
there
is
is
fuel. Choose wisely.
100%. I'm a big fan of Buddhism. As much as I'm a Christian, I'm a big fan of Buddhism. I'm a big fan of the middle way. Mm-hmm. And there is a connection between the mind, the body, and the soul. And unfortunately, we're so over specialized today that we see everything in silos. But I'm a jack of all trades. I like to step back and see the connection between everything that surrounds me and be aware that one affects the other.
So we have courage, then we have
protection, which stems out to the way you treat your body by giving it the tool that you need to protect your family. Then you have being a provider, which is, as it sounds exactly the way it sounds, making money. We live in a way that you need money. Using your natural skills in order to make money, being the most successful you can be in the professional world. But that also means that you need to provide, again, like I was saying, a safe space for your children. This is on you. It's not only through material and money, but you need to do it emotionally as well. It's on you to hold that space for your kids and to shelter them at a home where they can grow. But at the same time, you need to teach them that when they step that front door, there's no such thing as a safe space. Life is hard. Life is extremely hard, and you need to be tough in order to live it.
Yeah, then you talked about how some of this, material may be challenging in certain gender contexts or gender conversations. How also does it, play out with gay families or?
It's all about energy.
Because
it's about energy. It's energy. It's energy. The thing is, it's easier for most people to understand men and women. Sense. Yeah. But at the end of the day, there are men that are extremely feminine by nature, and there are women that are extremely masculine by nature. And it's not wrong. It is just the way they are. But in general, men are manly, women are feminine.
That makes sense. Right.
It's about energy. There's no difference in my head, because there's always, in gay couples, you always have one that's more masculine in energy and one that's more feminine. Opposite attracts, right? So it's totally, you see it all the time, and the statistics will show it as well. This is probably the toughest one, but it's temperance, number 4. This is definitely not taught anymore. This is why I'm such a big fan.
Yeah, what does that mean, temperance? What does it mean?
Self-mastery of the mind, being able to control your emotions. Because there's 2 things with emotion. You control them or they control you. That's the only way emotions work. And this is why I'm such a big fan of Stoicism. Because they taught the importance of mastering your emotions. and not letting them destroy you. Because look at what happens today. Men fight for, we're aggressive by nature. Men are very aggressive by nature because of the testosterone that runs through our body. And we can do extremely violent things when we are not in control of those energy. When this energy is not used and focused on something that matters. And through meditation changed my life. Martial art changed my life. Going to the gym changed my life because it allows me to focus those energy. I have to go to the gym every day because I have so much energy that if I don't, it is extremely hard to control. So I just go to the gym, I destroy that energy, I meditate at the end to refocus my mind, and then everything is okay. But this is what's extraordinary. I create in the morning, I write, I spend most of my mornings writing when my mind is on fire. And then I go to the gym to calm my mind, calm my body, to do more menial tasks in the afternoon. This is because I'm self-aware. I know how my body is. And through temperance, which I don't believe that anybody's capable of being tempered. I think you can be certain levels of temperance, but I don't think somebody can become 100% tempered, because even Buddhist monks, and throughout history, it's hilarious because they have great stories that just says that even them will lose their temper, because there's no such thing as being 100% tempered, but it's a beautiful goal to have. And, one of the things I tell people is if you're not tempered, you're easily controllable. That means anybody out there can play with your feelings and make you react in a negative way. Because you're not controlled yet, you could simply walk away and it's done. Any conversation, you could simply walk away. And as somebody that gets between 5 to 10 million views every month on my content, I get a lot of comments. You know how much it used to affect me? People I don't even know insult me, calling me names, death threat. I've heard it all. And you know what? Now I laugh at it. It's hilarious to me because I understand that the person that is ready to insult somebody they don't know because they don't share the same opinion is not happy with their lives. It is not me that they're being hateful towards, is themselves. They just see something in me that reflects something in them. And instead of being accountable for those emotions, they'd rather target me with those emotions. So understanding this is very freeing. It's so great for the soul to know that the type of people that you deal with, their reactions are normal because they don't understand themselves. Why lose control over this when I can simply walk away, continue whatever I was doing? Because it does not matter. I don't control how they feel. I don't control their emotions. I just control mine. That's all I control. And the fifth one is faith. This is what most people have problem with today, because of the word faith represents to most people a religious term. It can be, but it doesn't need to be. Is it spiritual? Absolutely. But at the same time, you can replace the word faith by believe. How can you ever build self-confidence if you don't first believe in yourself? How can I create a new relationship with someone if I don't first believe that they are the person they say they are? And how can I ever find purpose in my life if I don't first believe that I was put here for a reason? This is what faith is to me. And without those three types of faith, you'll never be able to have self-confidence, build relationship. And I'm not just talking relationship in couples, but with your friends, work relationships. And how can you truly be happy if you don't know in the bottom of your soul that you have a purpose, that you were put here for a specific reason? There's a reason for you to be here.
Well, Nico Lagan, it's absolutely fascinating and wonderful to have you as a guest to learn more about the 5 virtues. It's been a delight listening to your Legion of Men and the private Facebook group you have for the Legion of Men, and how there is an approach to embracing masculinity that you offer. And it's such a great, refreshing topic that you're exploring. So I thank you for being a guest.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
So again, more details about Nico Lagan in the show notes. And until the next episode of Authentic Change with Mike Horne, stay well.
Thank you for listening to the Authentic Change podcast. I'm delighted that you've tuned in to listen. Please visit the show notes for links to topics discussed in today's podcast. To download a free ebook on authentic change and leadership and to subscribe to my newsletter, please visit mike-horne.com. Once again, mike-horne.com, mike-horne.com. Once again, thank you for listening to the Authentic Change podcast.